Now let's turn our attention to the second topic of importance here, which is simplifying rational expressions. One of the things we're going to have to do very, very often throughout all of calculus, but very heavily here in the first chapter, is to be able to simplify fractions by adding and subtracting them. Now again, this is a fairly simple concept, but it's one that again may be worth quickly reviewing. I'm going to go ahead here and just take a look at 2a and try to see exactly how I would do a question like this. So here I'm starting with the fraction 2x over x minus 4, and I'm being asked to subtract from that the fraction x over 2x minus 8. Now many of us of course already know that if we want to add or subtract fractions together, we need to make sure that they have a common denominator. Now, one thing that sometimes people will often do is they'll take a look at the denominators that we have here, and they'll start to go ahead and try to get a common denominator by multiplying the first fraction by 2x minus 8 and the second fraction by x minus 4. And that's not wrong. It's totally fine to do that to get a common denominator, but it's actually going to create slightly more complicated resulting expressions. What we're always going to want to make sure that we do first here is to take a look at what we have in the denominator of our fractions and attempt to factor them completely. So notice here there's a 2 in common that I can factor out. And now when I look at this, I realize that the only difference between the denominator in the second fraction and the denominator in the first one is that the second fraction has that 2 down there. So what I can do is I can go to my first fraction and I can multiply by 2 over 2, which is 1. If I multiply something by 1, it doesn't change its value. And now I can see that I'm going to end up with fractions that look like 4x over 2 times x minus 4 minus 8 over 2 times x minus 4. Now, of course, if I wanted to add these fractions together, I'll move over here in this direction. I can just subtract the two things that are in the numerator and put that over my common denominator. Now, technically, there's still a little bit more that I'd like to do because it can be very helpful to reduce expressions like this as much as possible. And so to go through and do as much reducing as possible, it's helpful to factor both the top and the bottom of my fraction. Now here, I can see that I have an x minus 2 up top and an x minus 4 on bottom, so those can't be simplified out, but I can simplify out here with this 4 over 2. And of course, if I was to do that, I would be left with the 2 in the numerator and just an x minus 4 in the denominator. So this here would kind of be as simple as I could make this expression. I'm going to leave parts B and C as ones for you to try. They're a little bit more involved and have some more complicated factoring to do, but again, these are old algebra concepts, so hopefully it just gives you some good time to go back and review this, so when this occurs within the lessons that we'll come across in this first unit, things will flow very, very smoothly.